There's another thing I wanted to show you guys. So they have made a community letter to Riot, right? Updated automatically every 5 minutes. I kind of want to read through this real quick with you guys. Table of content, introduction, a request, letter, feedback, and news article. I've always said that League of Legends players are very articulate. I would say above average when it comes to IQ in general. So introduction. To whoever is taking the time to read this, thank you. Thank you for making the game that this community has been enjoying for nearly 15 years at this point. Thank you for giving us some of the best character design in gaming history. We could keep going about this, but it is time to address the elephant in the room. Over the past week or so, with the last season of Arcane coming out and concluding Viktor's arc, his LoL character has, in our eyes, been deleted from the game in favor of new interpretation that is in many ways different and even diametrically opposed to the original character, not only in looks but his character and lore. And many people found themselves attached to the original version in one way or another. This has expectedly sparked outrage in the community, and over the last week we have been compiling the community response to his change. This letter serves to condense the avalanche that normally results from a community feedback movement like this and compile some data about the response. We hope this letter succeeds in reaching you. The part below this main body consists of the letter sent to us by anyone in the community that cared enough to write full response rather than just a comment on social media. There are over 80 letters we have received in a very short span of time before we had to wrap up community letter, all full of sadness, disappointment, and affection for the Machine Herald. These serve mainly as references for claims made in the first few pages and can ignore pivotally. However, we would recommend at least glossing over a few of them and looking at the sheer volume of feedback and love for original League of Legends character that players have. Are we gonna go through these? Whoa, okay, these are references. Okay, our request. Let me start with the most important part. As started above, Viktor's player are writing this message as a protest to prevent the proposed rework from hitting the live servers as planned on December 11th. After a lot of contemplation, our demands are cancel the visual rework of classic and other old skins, release Arcane Viktor as a legendary skin alongside Arcane's ChezVader. Okay, that is a very interesting take. Once I saw the first one, I was like, there's no way they're gonna do that. And I still think that there's no way they're gonna do that. No matter how many letters you send them, they're not gonna do it. You know why? Because this company doesn't listen, okay? They do this purposefully. It doesn't matter how many letters you send them. I don't think they're gonna cancel their rework. This was the whole point. This was their whole selling point. Viktor is changed, has changed. It's one canon. You have to. It's impossible for it to be like, it's Arcane and League of Legends are one canon. So the main characters, the main skins in the game, those are the ones in Arcane too. Those are the same. The main Jinx skin is supposed to be the one in Arcane. That's the main one. So I can see the proposition. A better proposition would be to change his mechanics. Okay, I am completely fine. I don't care about his old lore, whatever. We cannot change the lore and we do not control it. Viktor did not have that much of a lore anyways. Let's be real. Viktor did not have that much of a lore. So for them to actually cancel what they've made with Arcane and then come back and then just bring it back to what it was or before that, which was a completely vague lore that had no meaning, why would they do that? It just doesn't make sense. I would love it more if they actually go with what I just said, which is change the mechanics of Viktor, because Viktor sucks in the game. Just change the mechanics. Make them like the ones in Arcane, the ones I just proposed earlier. If you just do these, now we're having both. We're having a better character and everyone is happy. Because if you bring if they saw an actual good hitting character with good skills and abilities, people will be happy. People wouldn't be complaining. They would be like, oh, they would be interested. Be like, oh wow, look at that, there's much change in there. We kind of want to tamper with that. They wouldn't be like complaining about, oh, you just changed the art, that's it. So we understand the amount of work that goes into creating content and the costs, both in terms of resources and in terms of manpower. But in this case, it would be favorable for all parties if the visual update does not go live and Arcane instead release as a double legendary skin alongside Arcane Savior. Just like how I'm not buying it, man. Look, for Riot, this would be a good, yeah, for Riot themselves, this would be a good selling point because they can make more money out of this. Because if you make Viktor as another skin you can buy, people are gonna buy it because they've seen it in art. But the problem here is that Viktor did not change in the game. His mechanics are still the same. That's the main issue. And the other thing is that I don't think they physically can put both in the same game, this Viktor and the other one. For some reason, they're like changing the skin mechanism in the game. It just doesn't work that way. You know, it's the same reason they couldn't make Warwick look the way he looks in Arcane, or like the other way around, you know. They're just like unable to do it. It's a technical disability, you know, because Viktor in the show looks so different from Viktor that we have right now that it's impossible to make it just a skin. Because with just a skin, it's not the same skeleton. It's a completely new skeleton. That's the whole point. So you cannot just change the skin. You have to change the entire skeleton. I think that's why they won't do it this way. There's no way they're gonna do it this way. And I think whoever wrote this should have thought about this before submitting their proposal. Because there's no way they're gonna implement that as a skin and it doesn't have the same skeleton. So it's impossible for them to do this. Okay, let's kind of look at the other points. So the public response of the update already existing skins has not been good, and there's a very strong feedback that new players would rather buy the old looks of skins. In contrast, going through with the rework might put a strain on the company's reputation from releasing very low quality content. Isn't that what Riot is known for? I mean, we've been seeing that for forever. They have put zero effort in the game for 13 years. How would you expect them to all of a sudden like become better, you know? Common themes include the skins were downgraded massively and give off the impression that they were rushed. Okay, they were. Yeah, I agree with this, but this is just a beta. So let's see how they look later. I don't know. So this is not talking about the visual effects, which are few in early levels, but the models themselves. Okay, yeah, pretty much. So the aesthetic of the old skins lose all appeal in rework versions to some degree, maybe. Yeah, to some degree I can see where he's coming from. Like, look, the new skins are not great. The new skins, I can see like that they changed him into like the new Viktor, but the new skins, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them changing, but the skins don't look good. They can improve them from like a color perspective mostly. You don't really need to like change that much. It's like you just need to tune the colors a little bit, maybe increase the saturation or the contrast. There's a disconnect between the identity of in-game Viktor abilities and the character of Arcane Viktor that he has now been modeled after. This is the main claim here. This is the big one. This is what I would put first. So far, these points are valid, okay? The low amount of kit changes stretches the definition of VGU, with the only real change only coming into effect around 20-30 minutes, and even later in less snowbally games. Especially his W has shown its age over the last years, and most of us would like to see it improved in some way. There have also been issues with how the whole situation has been handled so far. The lack of communication about who got the Arcane VGU, the league community only finding out how it was through a leak about 3 weeks ago, and only having it confirmed, announced, and executed timeline-wise, announced months in advance, with starting exploration and the concept art shown to the players looking at you, Karner and Shivana. Okay, so here's what happened for this one. The show goes on, right? You have to watch Arcane. They don't want to spoil what happens in Arcane. So they waited until Arcane finishes, and then they released the skins. So that's why they kind of had to do it like this. And the other issue is that Arcane was at the end of the year. So they don't have enough time to release the Viktor skin before the end of the year. So Viktor skin is not released yet, so like we still don't have that much of a time. They need to release it before the end of this year in order for you to be able to play it in the map of Piltover, right? Because in the next year we're going to be playing it in Noxus, so you wouldn't get to try Viktor in this map, I guess. Many players also pointed out that even with Arcane now being the new canon of League of Legends, the Arcane version of Viktor reads as a brand new character. that could have been released as a new champion alongside the show. I'm not really buying this one. Look, Ambissa, like I could see like how Ambissa could be a new character, but Viktor, come on, man. I completely accept the way Viktor is right now. The fact they changed them, they just like threw the one in the game away or whatever. Like I need to see the lore in the game in order to kind of see how different he really was. But from what I've heard, like online, overall look, people are saying that the old lore is just vague. There's not really that much of, like a Viktor personality or anything. So it was just vague. So here it's kind of more clear. And the people who actually read the lore, come on, they're minority. Who are we kidding here? There's definitely more people that watched Arcane than people who read the lore. Okay? There's probably more people that watched Arcane than people that can read. I'm not buying this one. Okay, so we hope the point is clear that the community railed around LOL Viktor does not see ourselves represented in the rework, and we see clear avenues for that to be fixed. Arcane Viktor does not ring true to his original League of Legends character nor theme. If you wish, the moderation team for our community can set up a number of channels for communication, which could make the sheer volume of feedback more clear. In the passion of the moment, the latter approach seemed like the best, but I'd be more than happy to provide concrete data if that is something that supports this cause better. We're hoping to hear any response back, and thank you again for reading. Sincerely, the community of our Viktor mains. So what do I think about this overall thing? I think League of Legends players have very unique ways of complaining, and I think that they are the most articulate players in video games, even though they are the most toxic, but they are the most logical too. They are the most addicted, but when it comes to things, they just show that we as a community are not just Neanderthals. We can actually articulate ourselves and make good points. Not saying that this right here is a good point. After reading this, I don't think anything changed for me personally. I think they kind of need to cancel this. This is fine, okay? These parts here, those are fine. I agree with this. I agree with all of this, word for word. But we need to change. I think we need to change this part. Release Arcane Viktor skin as legendary skin. Oh, okay. Both of this is stupid. This is just impossible, You should just look at the game, and if you have enough knowledge in the game, you should know better. You should know better not to make these kind of requests, because you're just losing your karma, I would say, by requesting such things to make Viktor and another skin, just another skin for Viktor, which as a League of Legends player is impossible. So you're not really asking them to make him as a skin. You're just asking for them to bring back Viktor, which they're not gonna do, obviously. I think what League of Legends and Arcane have done so far is absolutely great, and my only complaint is that they have not changed the kit of Viktor. So I really wish that they change his kit and his abilities to the ones that I described earlier, to the ones that kind of represent the show more. I don't really care about the lore of League of Legends, the old one especially. I think it was rushed, and it's been written like since long time ago, and I don't think they had in mind all of these intricacies in the show before writing. So they kind of had a lot of open space in order to innovate in the show, because the show was not built on solid grounds. The show was like built on very, very shallow characters, and then they turned them into great characters, as I have seen online from what people have said. The lore for Viktor is very vague, and it's not conclusive, and you're not even sure what Viktor is. Sometimes he's an angry guy who just wants to annihilate humanity or something, and sometimes he's just a good person. So it's very vague, and it doesn't give a lot of description. Calling the lore that League of Legends gave to Viktor the main lore for him, I think, is a disservice to the character, because like the entire lore for Viktor could just be this amount of lines. This is I wouldn't like base a character's entire design on 3 paragraphs. So yeah, you can't really use 3 paragraphs to support whatever that is. So you would rather erase those 3 paragraphs and bring in the essay that you have written for the character again, the updated one, the one that kind of fits the story more. And I'm okay with that. Like change. If the change is good, then let's keep it. You know. And I don't think there are many Viktor mains. So this whole thing is absolutely redundant. Why? Because there are not enough Viktor players in the first place. So if you're a Viktor main, I'm sorry, not many people play Viktor. The mass majority, there are more people that watched Arcane than people that played Viktor, and I can bet on that easily. So people coming from outside of the game, people who used to play the game but not play Viktor, are now more interested in Viktor, and they are not interested in this Viktor. They're interested in the Viktor in Arcane. So the amount of people that want Viktor to change to revert are way less than the amount of people that want Viktor in Arcane, you know? So this whole thing is redundant. And that's all I gotta say about this. This is my opinion. When you say not true, what do you mean not true? It is true, yeah. You think there are more Viktor players than people who watched Arcane? Do you know how many people watched Arcane? There are enough people watched Arcane that they made the $250 million back, okay? Too many people watch Arcane. I have so many friends that have never heard of League of Legends and they have watched Arcane. So this is how big Arcane is. It's kind of like Attack on Titan back in the days when people didn't used to watch anime, but they watched Attack on Titan. This is Arcane now.